Hello there, men, and welcome to the Masculinism Movement channel, a place for men to be men and to talk about masculinity and men's issues. I'm your host, Brian Krall, and today I'm going to be going over what I have found to be the 13 universal elements of masculinity and manliness. The expression of masculinity and manliness may vary from culture to culture, but at its essence, it is the same everywhere. There are some universal elements of masculinity and manliness that every culture around the world shares and wants to see in its men. These are traits that young boys are taught to embody by their strong male role models, those masculine, manly men that everyone looks up to and make up the cultural heroes of the day in any culture's mythos. These elements of true universal masculinity, as I have found them to be, and I'm only going to be obviously reporting on ones that are positive for you, right? As oftentimes on this channel, I talk about some of the unjust and negative expectations that society places on men, right? But these are the positive ones, right? These are the aspects of masculinity and manliness that are good for you to embody. And the first, of course, is strength. You probably could have guessed it. It's something I've mentioned time and time again. Men need to be strong in this world, okay? Because, society simply does not forgive weak men, right? When a man becomes a victim, he is going to receive so much less social support than a woman. So it is really important that you not allow yourself to become a victim by not adopting a victim mentality anytime you may be in a disadvantageous position, which will be often, right? And of course, having physical and mental strength so that you are not vulnerable. And this leads me into the next one, which is courage. Strength is not enough. You need courage and bravery so that you'll be able to use your strength and exert force even when you are facing your fears. All right, a man has to be able to take action and do what he needs to save himself or maybe others, when he is facing adversity or, worse, violence. This is how men have gotten to be so admired by others, by being saviors. This only happens through strength and courage. Of course, this leads me to the next one, which is honor and virtue. You have to have some kind of code as a man that tells you what the right actions to take are, and what not to do. And this is something that, again, every society admires about its men, is that they are known for having some sort of masculine code, be it a moral code or, some sort of code that, tells them what virtues they have and what to do with them. There's something that gives them honor. This is something that women just do not have. Women don't live by any kind of code. They don't generally have morals and virtues. They don't have honor, and they generally don't feel the need to do the right thing by others or even themselves. And this is something that we all know about women, and why women make such bad friends, and why we really only associate with them as men if we need sex, right? Because they simply have no honor. You can't trust them, right? But a man is different. A man has honor and has virtue because he lives by some kind of code, whatever that may be. Okay, you can have your own code. I'm not telling you how to live, what to do, what to believe in, what morals and virtues to have. No, I'm just saying there needs to be something, some code, even a code of your own that you have made up originally, okay? So there has to be some sense of virtue in masculinity, all right? Masculinity is virtuous. If you don't understand this, watch my video on the virtues of masculinity. I'll post the link there below. But moving on, the next one is dominance, leadership, and authority. Society looks to its men to be leaders, be it politically, in business, or in any sort of group dynamics. In any sort of organization, you need leaders, and men have the dominant personality types due to their testosterone and their wiring, especially alpha males. We are the ones who have the ability to step up and be leaders where leaders are needed. And this is an invaluable service that men offer society, because without it, there'd be no organization, all right? Without leadership, there is no organization, all right? And so Society needs male dominance to be able to fill positions of authority that are needed in order to prevent chaos. All right. It is men who organize society and prevent chaos. Women do the opposite. Okay. They bring chaos and interrupt organization. All right. Men are needed to counterbalance the chaotic force of females, and especially feminism. And next is a manly image. This is something that, again, I can't tell you what it is for your culture, but every culture or counterculture does have a sort of masculine image that it says, if you're a masculine man, you have to sort of fit into these parameters. All right. Now, of course, I'm against conformity, and it sounds like conformity when I say it like that, right? But if you look at the image that I have in my culture, this is masculine, all right? And to people who are nonconformists and rebels, it may seem like I'm sort of fitting into a cookie cutter mold when I'm doing this and not, being expressive enough, individualistic enough, but I am expressing myself and being individualistic, right? Within the, uniform of the suit, I've got the ability to do my own thing, right? And the point is that you can have the room to take creative liberties to express yourself, but there is certain things that are masculine when it comes to image and certain things that are feminine. And if you want to be seen as a masculine man, you have to present as one. Okay. If you want to be seen as a masculine man, people have to look at you and it has to register in their mind that in your culture, you would qualify as masculine and manly. This image you have is a masculine one. All right. So in my culture, this is masculine. In other cultures, something else might be masculine, like in India where I spent time. The old school men, the really old fashioned elderly men, especially the priestly ones, they would wrap a long cloth around both legs. Right. And if you were to do that in America, you might get teased and accused of wearing a dress. OK, because they didn't have separate, pant leggings. But these were macho men in their culture. OK, so obviously it varies from culture to culture. There's no universal one, image of a man. But the point is that image plays an important role in the perception of masculinity. So you have to take that into consideration. And if you want to be seen as a man, you have to cultivate a masculine image specific to your culture. Okay. The next is virility. This is something that is an interesting one that comes up in every culture when you research masculinity. A culture sees masculine men as virile. So, this could mean a variety of things. Okay. It could mean you're extremely sexual. It could mean that you are good at having babies, and that, even if you're not promiscuous, even if you aren't living in sexual abundance and having a whole lot of sex, you at least do produce offspring. So you have this thing called fertility, which is a huge part of virility. Or it could just mean that you have a lot of sexual energy. It could also just mean that you are a healthy sexual specimen for the opposite sex. But one way or another, what this means is that cultures value its men's sexual health and fertility, and thus their ability to reproduce and produce healthy, strong offspring. So this is something that, again, this isn't a sex ed channel. I'm not here to tell you how to get laid and have sex or relationships or any of that. But what I think we can at least derive from the aspect of virility being important to masculinity is that this is probably why a lot of macho men and traditionally masculine men have always sort of been biased and against homosexuality because of the value that gets placed on reproduction. All right, that a man is supposed to be able to reproduce and produce healthy offspring. So there may be some validity to that and to speaking in a way that is heteronormative, as I do when I'm talking about sexuality. And this also means that, obviously, under ideal conditions, it would behoove us men to be sexual and to mate and, eventually, when we're at the right age, to have children. However, as you should know by now, I would say this day and age of fourth wave feminism isn't really the time to be pursuing a family with, the women that we have today. But hopefully that will change in the future.
Wait a minute. Now a word from our sponsor, me. Do you value the ability to use words to do things such as compose meaningful sentences and speak the truth? Did you know that here in this great country of America, you have the right to free speech? And so do I. And if you don't support people who are exercising that right, then you are probably a fascist dictator. Just like the YouTube algorithm, which stifles the content of patriotic people like me who dare to speak out against the gynocentric, matriarchal, feminist regime that has been aggressively taking over our country. And if YouTube isn't going to promote my content and is going to suppress it instead, I can only rely upon you, my viewers, to show your support. If you don't support free speech, we will stop having it, which is exactly what is already happening with YouTube videos that censor themselves getting promoted and explicit ones like mine getting shadow banned. So, if you like listening to me use my free speech, make sure to press like and share and donate whatever you can with the PayPal link below. Don't make me work for free and get censored like a fucking communist. And with the presidential election coming up, your donations can literally be used to fund my campaign to get into the White House and abolish the matriarchy once and for all. Literally. Who would you rather have as your president? An old limp dick liberal leftist cuck with noodly arms who's probably never been in a real fight in his life? Or a good old-fashioned, misogynistic, patriarchal man's man like me with balls big enough to stand up to women and who you can count on to speak out against them and tell it like it is? Fight the feminazi dictatorship. Spread the message of masculinism. Keep my work alive. And now, back to our regularly scheduled content.
Now, moving on. The next is life and survival skills. A man has to be able to survive, obviously, in order for him to be a man. He has to be alive. So a man has to be able to fend for himself, basically, and to pass on survival skills to offspring because, again, a man has to be able to produce healthy, strong offspring that's going to survive, that's going to be able to stay alive and succeed in life, right? But a man also has to have some sort of life skills so that he can live well, so that he can pass those on, so that he can hopefully profit by, certain skills or trades that he has in order to be successful and not only be able to survive, but to be able to live well, all right? Next is respectability and commanding others' respect. This is where terms such as gentleman come in as an archetype for, the ideal man. You have to obviously be able to command others' respect, which you do by acting in a respectable way. Of course, you need to dress in a respectable way, a way that is seen as masculine and classy in your culture. You need to be able to act with good manners, politeness, and behave in a way that is respectable. And then, if and when anyone ever disrespects you, you need to be able to stand up for yourself and show them that you deserve respect and command the respect of others by the way you speak to them, from beginning to end, and how you act if they ever disrespect you. All right, this means not falling into disrespectful, vulgar behaviors. Okay, I'm not saying to start a fight with them because that wouldn't be respectful, but you have to stand up for your honor, okay? And you need to do it in a way that commands more respect. Okay, so this is, again, sort of a fine art that is something that gentlemen and socialites are trained in and is, not something I have time to go into, but let that marinate in your brain, make that some food for thought because, this is really what respect is all about. If you want people to respect you as a man, you have to carry yourself with respect in every situation. Next, responsibility and accountability for yourself first and foremost, but also oftentimes for others. Masculinity is traditionally valued because of men's ability to be responsible, right? To have that thing called dependability that lets people know they can rely upon you. And that makes men successful in society. That is what puts them in positions of business. This is what makes people want to work with a man. I know I can depend on him. All right, he's responsible, he's accountable. And that also means being accountable for other people, especially in business. Okay, you've got other people depending on you. You've got people you need to be accountable for, to your bosses. This is a huge success skill that women just do not have. All right, this is why cultures value masculinity, why businesses value men, why men are valued in politics and in everything they do over women, because women are not responsible, not accountable, can't be depended upon, at least not in the same ways that the world has grown to depend upon men. You could see this if you were to look at, some all-female businesses that have arisen since the start of feminism. These are companies that just can't be depended upon. So if you want to be a valuable masculine man, you need to make sure you are responsible and accountable. The next one is authenticity. And this is something I brought up in my video on the Macho Man and how that's one of the problems with machismo, is that it lacks authenticity. Authenticity is so important to masculinity, all right? You cannot fake masculinity. People will be able to sense it, all right? You need to be authentic and genuine and true to yourself. And, as a man, that's your right. That's a part of masculinity, in fact, is doing it your own way, going your own way, not just doing what other people tell you to do, being your own person, okay? So you can be yourself and be a masculine man at the same time. In fact, even though I'm talking about the universal cultural archetypes of masculinity right now, if you live in a culture that says men should be this way and you don't want to be this way, you don't have to be that way. And that doesn't make you less masculine, okay? You can be masculine while rebelling against unhealthy and unfair cultural norms, all right? In fact, you might be more masculine than, whatever men are fitting into those cultural norms because you're being more authentic and genuine, okay? So masculinity has to be authentic and genuine in order for it to be true masculinity, of course, all right? So make sure that you are being true to yourself and not just a conformist, all right? The next is competitiveness. This is something that, again, goes along with having high testosterone, is that masculine men just tend to be more aggressive and competitive. And this is something that is very valuable because it helps you to be your best, all right? There is a certain level of training that goes along with any competition. In order to make sure that you excel at it, you have to practice. You have to train yourself to become better, all right? And self-improvement is one of the greatest things a man can do for himself. And when you're competing, you're attempting to win. You're attempting to become the best at something in a given category. All right. So this is how men have become so great in society. It is their competitiveness, their drive to practice and train themselves to compete and win at things. All right. So this is a very valuable trait to have. And then the next and second to last is paternal nature and instincts. Good masculine men make good fathers. Again, they're able to produce healthy, strong offspring and to nurture them, instill these qualities in them, and help them grow up to be masculine men themselves. All right, and fatherhood is such an important aspect of manhood. And the father archetype is something I talked about back in my Sacred Masculine Archetype series as being lost in society today, and something that society really needs. We need nurturing paternal instincts in our society and positive male role models who can be the leaders for us and guide us in the ways that we need. And there's really no more valuable position in society than that, except maybe the next and last one, which is heroism. And again, back in my Sacred Masculine Archetype series, I talked about the archetype of the hero and how it's this mythic masculine role. In any culture's mythos, it has heroes that set examples of what masculinity is. And what these heroes do is they save good people. They are saviors. They fight bad people. They're fighters. They do good acts for good people, right? They are benevolent, and they're also violent towards bad enemies. So they have the strength and the ability, and also the mental attitude, the willingness to make sacrifices for the greater good, all right? By doing things such as becoming a soldier and, fighting for the freedom of the country's citizens, maybe losing some of their mental and physical health in the process. These are the greatest men a country or culture knows. These are its heroes, okay? And so these are men who are setting examples of what masculinity is at its best. It is something that is able to have a positive influence on the community and contribute to the greater good of society, even at the sacrifice of itself. So again, there's this moral virtue there, okay? And I'm not saying that you as a man need to sacrifice yourself for anything, okay? Because masculinity is not disposable or expendable. But you could still be a hero in your culture or maybe counterculture without allowing yourself to come to too much harm, all right? By just simply finding a cause that you believe in to contribute yourself to like I'm doing with masculinism. So those are the 13 different universal elements of masculinity and manliness.
That concludes this video. Thanks for listening. I hope I mansplained that good enough for you. If you like what you heard, please click the like button. And if you feel you gained some value from this video and would like to give some back, please do so with the PayPal link below, because your support helps fund me doing this work and fight the good fight for men like you. If you are ready to take the red pill and wake up from the matrix and the matriarchy controlling it and learn everything you need to know about female on male sexism, get your copy of my newly released book called Misandry Exposed. On sale now for a special price that won't last long. So check it out by clicking the link below. And otherwise, take care of yourselves, men, because no woman out there is going to.